India's top court has declined to give a ruling on legalising same-sex marriages. The verdict has received mixed responses, with petitioners saying that they are disappointed, but are hopeful that this has laid the groundwork for their rights to be recognised by the government. Neha Punya with this report.
This was perhaps one of the longest and most detailed verdicts to have come out of India's Supreme Court in recent times. Each of the 5 judges that were associated with this case read out parts of the judgment, agreeing that there were disagreements over just how far the court could go on the question of legalizing same-sex unions. But in the end, the decision was unanimous that the Supreme Court does not have the mandate to pass a ruling on this. It said while the court can interpret laws and also pass decisions to ensure that the fundamental rights of citizens are upheld, it cannot make laws. It said that mandate lies with the government or the executive alone. The court has urged the Indian government to now set up a panel that will examine the question of granting queer couples legal rights, saying it should address questions of inheritance, adoption, pension, insurance, and also access to basic services that heterosexual couples take for granted. Judges also declared that queer couples do have a right to cohabit without any threat of violence, coercion, or interference. The court was also divided on whether or not the right to marry is a fundamental right. 3 judges said it isn't, but the Chief Justice and one other judge said that the right is not restricted based on sexual identity, and that the right to choose a partner is a fundamental right, adding that the state is indirectly discriminating against the queer community by denying them that right. The 5-judge bench also was divided over the question of adoption. 2 judges were in favor of allowing unmarried queer couples to adopt, saying laws cannot make an assumption about good or bad parenting based on the sexuality of the parents, but the majority view was to not uphold adoption rights. Members of the LGBTQ community, many of whom were watching the proceedings live online, say they are disappointed and had hoped that the very court that decriminalized homosexuality back in 2018 would pave the way for equal rights for queer people. In court, the Indian government opposed the idea of legalizing same-sex unions, calling it a Western, urban and elitist concept, also saying that it goes against the very idea of Indian cultural values. It's unclear when the government is now going to set up that inter-ministerial panel, but critics argue that it may not be a priority for the government given its opposition to the very idea. Some LGBTQ activists say that even if the government is able to ensure that the community does not face daily discrimination by way of ensuring protection to the community, that will also be a win. But others are saying that this verdict has meant that all hope is not lost, because it also showed how the constitutional rights can be interpreted to allow same-sex unions to be legally recognized if only there is political will to do that. Neha Punya, CNA, New Delhi.